discuss. We are going to base our discussion on layers egg production. And layers egg production, we are going to discuss it from day old experience, because the layers egg production, the day old one is called pullet. And as from the day old, if you want to start day old, that layers egg production from day old, the first thing is that you have to get the place set, and getting the place set before you welcome the birds at the 8 day old, you have to get the place set. If the farm has been used for some time, you have to fumigate it, apply some chemicals to take care of microorganisms that can bring about retardation in the growth of the birds and poor performance. And sometime, if you are a new person entirely, you have to use either formalin, you mix formalin and then vincoquil. These are two powerful insecticides that can take care of microorganisms in your farm. And having done that, that's after fumigation, you leave it for at least 2 weeks so that the chemicals will effectively take care of all those microorganisms. And you open the place, you throw it just wide open so that to make sure that there is enough inflow of air. Then a day or 2 days before you welcome the birds, you then sweep that place again to make sure that there is nothing left that can make the birds to eat either substance that is not filled. So on the day you will welcome the bird, you check the cartons, because sometimes you may experience mortality on transit. You check the birds, and after counting the birds, you now make sure that the weight of the birds are correct. Then when you check the weight of the birds, because the weight of the birds matters a lot, because if the birds are not healthy when you are welcoming them into the farm, then it requires some measures to ensure that you don't begin badly. And after that, the first drug you administer to the birds is anti-stress. And that anti-stress, because sometimes it on transit, they experience a lot of stress on transit. So to make it rest well, you give them anti-stress, something related to glucose. You give them that anti-stress, they will take it for the first day. You put the water there, and heater, charcoal stove. You can use, people use a lot of things as charcoal stove. Some use iron bucket, some use just charcoal stove that is designated for heating up farms. Then you use it, make sure that the environment is warm. It's very warm, the temperature will be warm. Then you put water first. That anti-stress, you put it first, and then begin to introduce the birds into the water, depending on the number. Like some farmers who may not be meticulous about what I'm saying may decide not to introduce the birds in one after the other, but it pays. For those that can have that discipline, it pays, because once you introduce the birds one after the other, they will not find it difficult drinking, and that is what will sustain the bird at the beginning, because they don't normally eat much. But the field and the feeders should be there. If you have been into farming as a business, of course, you should watch the feeders and the drinkers ahead of the arrival of the birds. So on the arrival, as we said, you administer the drugs to them and give them feed. With the warm environment, after you keep on monitoring them. After the first 9 days, you give it the first vaccine. And that after the first 5 days, you give it the first vaccine. That is oil vaccine called livercox. If you make that mistake of giving it livercox, you run the risk of suffering perpetually coccidiosis. because that liver cause at that early stage will take care of coccidosis. Even when the bears find themselves in the difficult situation of maybe contacting coccidosis, it will be easy to treat. But if you fail to give them that liver cox at the beginning, at that 5 days, it will haunt you all through the cycle of that bird. Then after 9 days, once the liver cox is administered, after 9 days, you administer gumboro, that gumboro vaccine, and the routine, the drug routine continues. On after 2 weeks of the bird's arrival, you give them Marex. Marex is just to take care of the bone formation. Then after that 2 weeks now, on the third week, you give them first Lasota. This one is just ordinary Lasota, it's not oil Lasota. You give them first Lasota, live Lasota. Then after this first 4 weeks, you repeat Bomboro and make sure that adequate measure is taken. Then after the first 4 weeks, on the fifth week, you repeat the Lasota. Then the cycle continues. Then with adequate measure, that's making sure that the environment is warm, because layers don't have fat as broilers. So they hardly survive under cold temperature. They will always at the initial stage under high temperature. Otherwise, the birds will run the risk of suffering a lot of mortalities at the beginning. Then on the sixth week, you give it antibiotics. That antibiotics now, you give it just ordinary antibiotics. Then after that antibiotics on that sixth week, you will be going for Kumarov. On 60th week, you give it Kumarov. Then this time around, that Kumarov is oil vaccine, which is always expensive. That is why, cause farmers scale, they hardly get into all these details. Then on the 7th week, you give them Coryza. That Coryza, you will just oil vaccine. Then 80th week, you administer fowl pox vaccine. That is wingworm. Then after that 80th week, the next thing is that on the 9th week, you give them the first deworming, depending on your choice. You can use any type of bird, preferably piper dewormer. Using that piper dewormer at the 9th week. Then on the 10th week, you give them just ordinary antibiotics. You give them antibiotics to make sure that the health of the birds are maintained. Then on 11th week, you give them again, you deworm them again for the second time, waiting for the debeaking. Then on 12th week, you debeak the birds, because by that time the bird is already gradually maturing. Then on 13th, you give them rest, because after debeaking, sometimes they will feel weak, they will feel pains on their beak. Some attendants or some of the vet doctors who are not well trained or not well experienced in the field, they cause a lot of havoc at this period, at this stage. Some of them you may suffer careless. Some of them who are careless can cause a lot of mortalities in the farm in the course of debeaking them. For experienced vet practitioners or vet doctors, they will give you the best. Sometimes the best may not even suffer much stress. After debeaking them, highest 2-3 days, they begin to eat normally. If you are using battery cage, which is the area I prefer, I would suggest. But because of the intensiveness of the capital at the beginning, it requires a lot of capital at the beginning. That's why people don't get into using a battery cage. But that battery cage is more economical because once we are able to secure battery cage, it will reduce labor. Even the people you employ to take care of a farm, they will just require just only few workers compared to deep litter. But if you are using deep litter sometimes because it doesn't cost much, an average farmer can afford to set up a poultry farm based on deep litter, using deep litter. But at the long run, the disadvantages are enormous. One, you suffer the risk of losing your eggs. If you don't give them close monitoring at the point of laying, you will find the reason why people, those who mean to be farmers, they will always go for battery cage. And that one aside, just at the age of 14, at the age of 14,
14 weeks.
14 weeks now, you give them salmonella to take care of typhoid. That's fowl typhoid. Salmonella typhi, you will give them at that age because it's a harsh drug or a harsh vaccination. If you give them that salmonella, some even in the process of administering that salmonella, depending on the health condition of the birds, some of them may drop that day. Some may die in the course of doing that. So they will be very, very weak for at least 3 days. But when they regain themselves, you see them brighter than before the drugs were, the vaccination was administered to them. Then on that 14 days, if you give them 4 or 5 days, you cage them. Some may even allow it to be 15 weeks. You cage them. But that time you are already expecting the time of laying. From 15, if the birds are doing very well, from 17, 18 weeks, they will start to lay. So by that time, you have finished the normal routine vaccination. So that when people ask you of the medical history of the birds, you can easily x-ray the medical history. So that even if you are having challenges, you'll be able to handle it no matter what the challenge. Then now within 19 weeks, you just give them at the age of 16 weeks, you give them the last vaccination, and that should be triple vaccine. That triple vaccine, they will just come three different vaccines put together. Once you administer them, the egg dropping syndrome, you, to soften the reproductive system in such a way that the birds can easily lay, and then prepare the organ and other and take care of new casting. All these things are diseases that can cause a lot of havoc in the business. So having done all these things, when they start to lay, you vaccinate them. We'll be giving them ordinary vaccine. That will be giving them Lasota monthly. You'll be giving them Lasota monthly once they start to lay. Every month, once after 1 month, you give them vaccination. You vaccinate them. You give them vaccination. So because if you want actually to be a farmer, a successful farmer, you'll be monitoring the droppings of the birds. Once you notice anything that is abnormal in the dropping, something like reddish or greenish dropping. Greenish dropping is a sign of Newcastle. And reddish dropping mingled with white is sign of coccidosis. So when you see all this, you look for coccidostat. When you notice coccidosis, you look for coccidostat. And once you are able, you spot out uh, 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 that greenish dropping. You go for uh, anti-new, that's for Newcastle drugs. If you meet any, if you have a vet doctor attending to a farm, he'll be telling you because but sometimes Our people always like to do it themselves, even when they know they can't handle it. Because as a farmer, one need to have a vet doctor by the side who will be telling you this is the problem. Otherwise, you will not grow. So these are the things, the necessary steps. And if you follow it this way, you will succeed. I don't believe that if you do it, no, success doesn't just come that way. You do it repeatedly, correct your mistakes, and as you do it repeatedly, correct your mistakes. I believe that experience is the best teacher. Somebody may be even a trained vet doctor, but he may not even know what to do. And so when you are relating with when you are relating with your birds, when they have any develop any problem, you'll be able to spot it out. But if you give out your farm to maybe attendants and you don't pay attention to it, you are preparing enough ground for you to fail. So I believe that this is just the little I can share with you now. So if you're able to get anything out of it, I believe it will be of good help for you as you pursue that business. Thank you. And my eggs are not big. It depends on your. It depend. One, you have different species of birds. You have Zatek, you have Agrited, you have CHI, you have other brands. So these are the leading brands in layers egg production. When it comes to brands, you have Agrited Pullet, you have CHI Pullet, you have Zatek Pullet. Sometimes there are other species. They talk about Olam, this Chicken Pullet, and very many of them. But the three I mentioned earlier on, they are the leading hatcheries. If you're able to get them, they do very well. They perform very, very well. And my own brand is CHI. Why I prefer CHI to other brand is because the longevity of the birds, the laying period. Sometimes CHI can lay up to 2 years. Sometimes it can lay up to a year and 8 months consistently. Then in terms of size of egg, I don't know, but people clamor for Agrited in terms of size of egg. But the performance rate of Agrited, for me, because subjectively I can say from my own experience, the performance of CHI and Agrited cannot. CHI for me performs better than Agrited when in terms of laying rate, because they lay for a quite long time and they lay and their egg are also sizable. Even that of Zatek, the size of egg is always sizable. And all these things boils down to maintenance. Because if you don't give Lasota according to the timetable, according to schedule, there is every tendency that the birds will drop in their laying rate. And the size of egg, because once they are suffering Newcastle, the size of egg will shrink. So the size of eggs are largely dependent on the health of the birds. And all these things are as a result of maintenance. If you are maintaining your birds, if you are maintaining your farm, you always know when to and how to administer some drugs. And I want to advise against local drugs. Because sometimes people will tell you, you just lose local drugs. Our people have not gone to the extent, we have not matured to the extent of producing some local drugs for commercial farmers. You can use it maybe if you have 100 birds or let's say 150 birds in your farm, whereby you cannot dole out a lot of money to make sure that the farm is maintained. You can just do it anyhow. But if you are into it as a commercial farmer, you must have to venture into quality drugs to give you the best result. So that is all I know about that size, the size of egg. Because once the birds are not eating the correct feed, the feed ration is not there. They are not eating the correct the correct ration. Like the standard ration is that for 200 birds, they consume one bag of feed every day. So if you economize on your feed, one, the number of eggs will not much, and again the size of eggs will reduce. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And even at the point of uh, laying off the birds, I mean the point of selling the old stock, CHI, they are always bigger than any other brand of birds. So you make more money even after getting enough money from the eggs. You still make more money with the old layers. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Please, what can cause the death? Because sometimes you may come to somebody's farm, you will see massive death rate, that is mortality rate in a farmer. Please, what is it like maybe the basic thing that can cause the high mortality rate in a somebody's poultry farm?
There was experience I had when I was beginning. I had a vaccine failure. The first batch of bird that I brought into my farm, I had experience of vaccine failure. And of 509 birds, within 3 days, all of them died, remaining 15 birds. So once there is vaccine failure, they cause a lot of trouble in the farm. And again, gumboro, when gumboro strikes a farm, it is always difficult to control. And that is why adequate measures should be taken with regard to proper vaccination and ensuring that the vaccines are adequately protected, preserved, not only preserved. The only way the vaccines are preserved under cold atmosphere. So if there is not enough supply of power to keep the vaccine in in refrigerator, you look for somebody that knows what he's doing. Because some of the problems we are having, our farmers face in farm, is when they use wrong vaccines. Is more deadly than not giving them vaccine at all, because it can clear our farm just within some days. The whole farm can be cleared if you give them wrong vaccine. If you monitor your birds, because there is no outbreak in the farm that doesn't give you sign as a farmer. It will give you sign. If you're able to read the signs, you can give them the right drug before the whole thing strike the farm. But if you don't monitor the farm closely, even when they're having problem, before you be able to detect that they're having problem, it must have escalated. So being close to your farm, monitoring the things that go on in your farm, that's only the best way to take care of it. And if you're able to know to read the droppings, because the birds, they are not human beings. The birds are not human beings. You'll be able to read the droppings. And once you're able to read the droppings, you can handle any problem that comes your way. If the farm is not properly constructed, you will still face the problem. Because sometimes, once there is construction error, you cannot just have problems. When I mean construction error, if there is if not, you are not having enough ventilation in the farm, the birds will face a lot of challenges. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you for this wonderful information. Please, I would like you to press like and subscribe button. It will help in the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching.